So our Cowboys, I'm going to turn down Philly here. Okay. Our Cowboys got to win. Okay. We got to win, which, some people, of course, especially the trolls, Cowboys don't even know when to lose. Well, there's no guarantees about any draft picks. I mean, I can say two of the best players on our team, Micah Parsons was drafted with the 12th pick, and Tyler Smith was drafted with the 26th pick. And I've seen guys drafted with, like, say, the third pick with multiple first round picks, like Trey Lance, that suck. So just having a high draft pick doesn't mean that you're going to win. Now, a lot of things have been talked about with Micah Parsons that, he's not really a team player, and, he's selfish. We all know about his podcast and everything else. And last week with him leaving the game, as soon as it was over, pissed off because it literally bothered him. Of course, he got shit for that because they said, oh, well, here it is. He's leaving his teammates out to dry and he's not out there. And it's like before, when he's trading jerseys with people and having Big Play Slay out there, they say, oh, he doesn't really care about football. It's like, pick a side, people. You can't have both of those. Be that as it may, you may not like his podcast and his arrogance and things like that, but you can't look at the talent that he has and not be at awe. If he gets in the next 3 games 1.5 sacks, he'll be one of a handful of people to start their career out with double-digit sacks every year. They're few and far between guys that have actually done that. And so you look at that and say, that's pretty good. A lot of people say, trade him for a couple of number ones. Okay, well, that sounds good. But knowing the Cowboys, Jalen Hurts sacked again. Knowing the Cowboys, they'd trade him for like a 3rd or a 2nd round pick. But here is what Micah Parsons, this is from John Machado. Micah Parsons on wishing the Cowboys were having more success this season. I want something greater. I want a Super Bowl. I'm in my prime. I feel like I'm untouchable right now. Team success brings everything else. I said I want to be the unofficial no one ever to wear the number 11. You know what I got to do for that? I got to win some titles. What do you think about that, Jack?
He's got to win titles.
And he's got to win titles, but for everybody that says he's just in it for the money, when you heard an interview with him before last week's game, his whole thing was he didn't necessarily say he has to be the highest paid. He's about trying to win it all. And this is where you have to look at this and say, is Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys in the same direction? Because he recognizes that they have to have the players on the field. That's a guy who literally was crying with Overshown getting hurt because, that's his teammate.
Exactly.
And he's a guy who's not giving up. Now, he understands that, if I get another 1.5 sacks, that's great for me in my career and stuff. But it's not just that. He knows he's going to get paid, whether it's by the Cowboys and the Joneses or if it goes someplace else. And this is where I look at somebody like, say, Dak Prescott. And my question on this was, is it just about getting the $60 million a year? Or is it about, at this point, because he's made so much money, is it about getting that ring? Because that ring, more money will come because of that ring.
Absolutely.
When the Cowboys, if and when the Cowboys ever win another Super Bowl, you will be a god. Let's be clear here. After the drought that we've had, if the Joneses still own the organization and somehow they win a Super Bowl, you will be a god. You'll be up there with Roger and Aikman and everything else, which is rare air. And hearing that from Micah, I love that. Now, the problem, of course, is we got the Joneses. We are going into an offseason that we are in better shape than we have been in as far as starting an offseason money-wise than I don't even know when. Because you can go back to the Tony Romo days where we would start the offseason literally, $20, $30, $40 million over the cap and have to restructure contracts and jettison players just to get under the cap. We have projected $22 million right now, and that includes the dead money hits that we're taking. They're already baked in the equation. That includes Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb's contract. That includes paying Micah Parsons on the 5th-year option. Mind you, I think that they're going to end up keeping him on that 5th-year option. That will probably piss off Micah because the Cowboys never rush to sign anybody. But the question will will it be the status quo where, Stephen Jones right now can cackle and say, well, look at Kayvon Turpin. That's a guy that we got from the USFL. Hey, look at Brandon Albright. That's a guy that we didn't give up any draft capital for him. And there's Carl Lawson, who he's out there making sacks and making plays. We signed him on the cheap. We know what we're doing here. We got a lot of great evaluators of talent, and we're not spending a lot of money on these things. Look at Rico. Rico is the first guy out there to be an undrafted player to have 3 weeks in a row. Having 3 weeks in a row with 100 yards, and every week he gets more and more yards. He got 149 today, after 136 last week. And, we're real happy with our guys. So when we say we're real happy with our guys, and Micah Parsons put it out there, we have to figure out which one of these guys, my teammates, let's roll it back together. One of those guys is Osa Ndigazua, who you could look and say last year's Dorrance Armstrong. Okay, they looked at it and said Dorrance Armstrong, even though he was a homegrown guy, one of our guys, you looked at it and said, we're not going to pay for that guy, and you let him go. Will that be Osa Ndigazua? Because, his season had been kind of meh early on, but the last couple of weeks, it seems like he's getting the system that we're playing and is now all of a sudden playing lights out and being dominant. Mozzie, you may not like him, you may not understand the numbers. Right now, Mozzie's in the 30s in tackles. So you can see some things and reasons why Micah is like, okay. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest thing that I liked seeing today after this game was seeing Micah Parsons, as soon as this game was over, he went over and he had his arm around Mike Zimmer. And see, that is huge because we know Dan Quinn was like his uncle and everything else. Building a relationship, and now you see the defense all of a sudden taking the football away, getting to the quarterback. So I get it. It's only Carolina. But Carolina looked better than the Steelers do today. Last week, they looked better against Kansas City 2 weeks ago. Now, maybe they just had the game of their career, but usually everybody has their best games against the Cowboys. So there's some things to build on, and you should definitely like the things that you're hearing from Micah Parsons. At least that's my thought. So we'll see how all that goes, and we'll see. It's going to get crazy in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks from today, the clock starts ticking. And I don't care what the Cowboys do. If you're going to get rid of Mike McCarthy, okay, fine. I may not agree with it. I might agree with it. Either way, just do it and get it over quickly and figure out who the next guy's going to be. Don't stretch this thing out. Don't do the Jason Garrett walk of shame for a week. Get this shit done. If you're going to sign some players, the Stephen Jones impersonation is abuse. Abuse to myself, Stephen Jones, or to you guys, because you guys just don't want to hear. I'm trying to figure out who's getting abused, trip bases. Just don't wait forever to do this stuff. That's the whole thing. Let's go ahead. Hey, here's our plan. Let's start enacting it. Let's get the new players on the roster to be here for OTAs. Don't wait till the end of training camp. And if you're going to sign Micah, get that shit done early. Don't wait till the end of training camp so he misses it. Just do that for me, if anything else. That's at least my ask. And shout out to Micah Parsons, who's definitely a real one.